What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today I'd like to talk about the competitive Halo crisis. Now, I might be a little late to the party on this, but there's been quite a bit of commotion in the competitive and casual Halo community. A lot of pro players are upset with the direction Halo 5 has taken, they're not satisfied with the updates 343 have put out there, and they feel like they aren't being heard. Some of them have lashed out a bit, and I can understand that, being frustrated and whatnot, but it's not alright to take that out against the casual fans or, the fan base in general. And this has kind of ignited a bit of a debate between Halo fans. Many people have discussed the casual and competitive side of Halo, and it seems like there's a pretty big split here. Of course, there's two styles of Halo games. The classic straightforward movement and gunplay of the original games, and the sprinty, movement-emphasized newer games. This split seems to be getting worse, and it got me thinking, is there a way to fix this? Maybe not in Halo 5, but in Halo 6. What could be done to please both types of fans? People have thrown around ideas like, well, what if one mode was dedicated towards classic gameplay, or one playlist was, just classic movement? Or what if there was a Halo 3 playlist? What if they just went back to the roots and just ditched sprint, ditched all the movement mechanics? What if they did that? People have thrown out the idea, well, they got this movement mechanic established, so let's just keep going with that. And, these are all decent, fun ideas to play around with, but they don't really address the issue fully. That issue being, how can you make a Halo game that appeals to two polar opposite desires? I might have the answer. And keep in mind, this is just an idea, a theory if you will. Could be this is practical and can actually be implemented. Perhaps there's enough time for 343 to think about this as they're developing Halo 6, but maybe not. Either way, let's just have fun with the idea, and I'm gonna put it out there. One thing to remember is not only does Halo 6 have to appeal to the new and old Halo fans, but it also has to bring something to the table that draws in new people, fresh fans. With that said, let's get into this. It is a difficult thing to do, to merge these two types of gameplay into one that isn't overtly one-sided, and is still fun, competitive, and contains everything fans want from a Halo game, or at least most things. But I think, and you're not gonna fucking believe me when I say this, that Halo Reach holds the answers. While not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, Reach is basically the hybrid of the series. Because if you think about it, there is no way to remove sprint from Halo 4 or Halo 5, because the maps were designed with it in mind. You can see how they're stretched out to accommodate for sprint in these movement abilities, where Reach, it was kind of like that, but not as big of a focal point when they designed the maps. The difference with Reach is that the maps can work without sprint or armor abilities, and that's the golden ticket. Reach was modular, except that Bungie's vision for the game was to give every player an armor ability at the start of every game, and in my opinion that's where Reach faltered.
Sword Base is a very vertical map.
Moving around Sword Base is a completely different scenario when you've got a jetpack versus when you're sprinting.
But what if instead of everyone being able to ground pound, thruster, use a hard light shield, jetpack, throw down a turret, or whatever, what if these things were instead power-ups on the maps? It probably would have done Reach a lot of good to just take armor abilities out, but leave them as power-ups and see how the game plays, see what the fans make of it. And I think something like this could work really well in Halo 6. Just like the armor abilities you could pick up, this would be the same concept. Perhaps they'd have a limited duration, or you could use them till you died. What if you could pick up a hard light shield instead of just spawning in with it? Fabian brought up this point in one of his videos on Sprint, which I'll link in the description. But one of the main points he alluded to is when you create your maps with a set of core mechanics, and Halo 5 for instance has a lot of core mechanics, but when you have to create your maps such that they're balanced around those, it creates a lot of hurdles you have to overcome in order to make quality balanced maps. And they have to work with the abilities and the base movement. So in essence, the more simplified the core mechanics are, the easier and more creative you can get with your maps. So let's say you put a jetpack on this one map and you could test how it works there. And let's say it's completely broken. This jetpack just utterly breaks the map. Well, then 343 can just take the jetpack power-up out of that map. This was the problem with Reach, is that they made the maps accommodating for every single armor ability. They had to do that. But this way, it gives the developers more freedom because the abilities are not core mechanics, not something that everyone spawns with, but instead are power-ups. Being able to pick up some super dope augmentation is something that can be controlled on a map-to-map basis. So what you end up getting is a Halo game that doesn't have so many complex mechanics as part of the core gameplay, but instead has these short bursts of awesomeness in every match, alongside, of course, your normal shooting, melee, and grenades. You know, ever since Halo 3, the series has been looking for a fourth leg to stand on, and equipment was good. It wasn't too impactful, but it was a nice change of pace, and then armor abilities were the extension of equipment. But that's when the problems came in, is when it started affecting the gameplay so much. When it became something that changed how you played all the time as opposed to in short bursts, that's when the real split between the Halo fanbase started to grow. Think of a few ideas and how awesome this could be. What if there was some kind of support ability like in classic Battlefront 2 where you can give your teammates a damage boost, small overshield, maybe a continuous recharge to their energy shields for a short time? You know, something that buffs the team. Or here's an idea to add on to this, but what if there was some kind of equipment slot? You know, you have your grenades, and then this is something that would give you a sort of tactical advantage. Like, if you have an armor restraint, you could throw it at another player and put them into a locked state for a few seconds. Perhaps you have some kind of target locator equipment that you can call in an airstrike. I mean, you know, aside from just having the damage boost, speed boost, invisibility, and overshields, the idea of more power-ups and perhaps equipment as well, I think provides that awesome gameplay and those great moments that Halo 5 has when you can pull off a really cool play, but it also doesn't make those core features. You can kind of separate the two if something doesn't work, or if a map has too many of these things and it gets too complicated, then you can take those out. There's so many ideas that could just be so goddamn awesome if this was kind of the direction they took the series in. So I mean, while we're at it, why don't you post a comment with a cool idea for a power-up? You know, this could be the direction Halo 6 goes in, toning down the number of abilities every player has when they spawn, and add new things onto the maps themselves. Now, I'm still not sure how Sprint would play into this idea I have, but that would be a very big question to answer, and it'd be very important to figure out. But I think this type of gameplay would work with and without Sprint. That's kind of my idea in a nutshell, to maintain those awesome mechanics and abilities that we're used to with the newer games, but make them something you have to pick up and find, not spawn with, something that adds some emphasis to the map. That way we'd have the simplicity of the original games and the complex fun from the newer ones. I think it'd create a nice balance. Would be really exciting and not too overbearing on one side or the other. It could be the best middle ground that can legitimately be found here, unless there's some other idea or something that I'm missing. So yeah, I thought this would be a nice little video to post on Actman TV. I know I haven't been super active here, but I plan on changing that. These smaller, easier to make video topics are great for this channel, because I don't have to put a whole lot of time in them, and I can just get something out quickly and, you know, spark a little bit of discussion. Also, hope you guys are looking forward to the future videos in the Halo 2 Legendary No Deaths run. I've been procrastinating it for a long time because Halo 2 Legendary brings out the worst in me. But anyways, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Share your ideas, share your opinions, and we'll get some discussion going. That's all I got for today. This is the Act Man signing out. Peace!